Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I am Ronnie Caldwell. You can call me Ronnie the Stoic. And this channel is my passion project. It's the channel in which I want to speak to the crisis of meaning that seems to be plaguing young men all over the world. And what I hope to do with this channel is using what I have learned from Stoicism and many other influences to help give some guidance to young men who are primarily interested in living a good life. Now, who am I? As I said, my name is Ronnie Caldwell. I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. I've lived all over the world. I've ended up being a teacher and then a school leader, working in international schools in Texas. I've worked in Austin, Houston, then moved to Kazakhstan, India, Saudi Arabia, and now I currently live in Bali, but will be headed home back to the great state of Texas in probably a year or two. But over that course of time, the main goal of my life, the main work of my life, my passion has been being a good man, and the belief that being a good man, striving towards an ideal self in that manner, has made everything else in my life good, has made me a better husband, father, friend. My career has gone well because of that. And what I want to do is provide what I can in terms of assistance, in terms of guidance for those of you out there who are looking to do the same. There's a lot out there about how to get rich, how to get as many women as possible, to do all these things to optimize your life. And I think the largest optimal trick for the vast majority of people is striving towards being your best self, striving towards being a good man. But so many of us don't know what that definition is. And so I want to start with one thing, and I think the major learning of my life, and I think one tool that you have to have and that you have to understand for anything else that you're going to do in terms of self-development to work. And on this channel, I plan on doing videos on relationships, romantic relationships, but also people skills that you can use at work, with friends, different places, spiritual grounding, right? How to use history, how to use psychology to the best of your advantage so that you live well, feel confident, do well in work, in family, in every aspect of your life. And if you get rich on the side, if you end up getting famous somehow, great. But what we need is more people who have a base of virtue, have a base of character before these things arrive, not just blindly trying to chase those things, which are not necessarily up to you. And that leads to that first rule, and probably the most powerful rule from Stoicism, which can also be found throughout time because it is so robust, and that is the focus on what you actually control. I see a lot of things on the internet. I see a lot of people speaking on television, the internet, everywhere. And there's a lot of victimization and a lot of victimhood that goes on, at least. And when I say victimization, I don't mean it in the sense of I see a lot of people getting hurt. I mean, there is that. But what I mean more in this case is people convincing others that they are a victim of something. The key in Stoicism is to remember that you have control over your actions. Now, I was not raised in this. I mean, I was raised in many ways, shape, or form. There was a lot of bitterness in some ways. I mean, I grew up in identifying as an African American. Yes, I know what you're saying. You're like, how is your white butt identifying as an African American? Well, I'll tell you, I am your incognito. My father was half black and half German. My mother was Creole from Louisiana. I came out looking like this, but yes, growing up, there were stories. And there were people in my family had been through a lot of pain, all right? My family was mixed before it was cool to be mixed, right? And so there were a lot of stories of struggles and everything else that came about. My family was very working class, right? They struggled with finances. And many of people in my family struggled with addiction. My own biological father struggled with addiction. He lived a life of crime, all these types of things. But it was important for me as a young man, and I was lucky in this, to find the teaching that becoming a good man, becoming who you want to be, will not be determined by any of that. What it will be determined by are the actions that you take. And for me, the biggest piece of leverage that I had was when I learned through Stoicism that if I focused on what I could control, meaning the way I perceive things, the actions I took towards solving my own problems, towards making my own life better, that is where I began to feel an actual power and confidence. Because what happens when we have excuses, when other people are mad online and telling you that your problem is women, that your problem is the matrix, that your problem is the economic setup, right? That your problem is systemic racism that goes back hundreds of years. What can you do about any of those things? You cannot. And what they are definitely doing, they might make you mad, they might get you all riled up, they might get you to click, but they are not really giving you a way to solve your problem, which is definitely your problem, which is in your mind. It's in your mind because you have not decided to take control of your life. And this is something that you'll consistently see. It's not just in Stoicism. You see it in Buddhism. You see it in addiction therapy, right? You see people who are overcoming hardships learn it. You see Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL, military guy, extreme ownership, really has a foundation in the idea of own your life. Take responsibility for what it is that you can control and start doing it. And what I would say is that any other tool, any other piece of personal development advice you get, any book that you read, it will not matter unless you take in this mind frame and also put it to work in your life. So a little exercise that you can do right now is you can take a piece of paper, something to write with. I always say, hey, use your handwriting. Make sure that you write things down. It's good for your brain. It'll integrate into your psyche more. You'll be able to synthesize information more. Write it down. Put a line down the middle of that paper. And on one side, put what is in my control. On the other side, put what is not in my control. And I want you to begin to make a list. Start to make a list, and what is in your control are only the things that no one can keep you from doing. No one can keep you from doing. Anything that someone else can hinder you from trying, that can hinder you from doing, that is outside your control. What is within your control is everything that you can list, that you could start right now, that you could do today or tomorrow, that are completely dependent on yourself. But the only thing that would keep you from doing those things are your own laziness or decision that you're not going to do it. And I'm not saying that everyone's life is what it is because they're lazy. There are plenty of people who are working very, very hard, but oftentimes they're working hard on the wrong things. They're working hard mistakenly, trying to gain or trying to really put a lot of effort into things that are not up to them. And I work with clients now. I do life coaching. I do personal development coaching. I work with organizations. And I'll say the most consistent way in which I work with clients to combat anxiety is to go back through this practice of, are you actually anxious about anything that is within your control? Think about it. Before making this video, my videos on this channel are going to be really, really basic because this is a passion project for me, and I'm not too good about uploading videos or making them look all pretty, right? And edits. I'm probably not even going to edit this. I'm just going to put this up. But there's nothing keeping me from just recording this video and starting to put out information that I think could be helpful, right? And one thing that could keep me from making this video, what's within my control, is let me get in front of the camera, let me put the camera up, and let me begin speaking to the camera about something that I truly believe in and hope that will be helpful. What's not within my control is whether or not anyone's gonna like this. Whether someone's gonna look at it and say, man, Ronnie's got a big ass head, right? Or, man, that shirt could have been better. Hey, that background looks like he's in a prison cell, right? All those things, none of those things are within my control. What's in my control is getting on the camera and actually putting forth something that I think is helpful. But what I want you to think about is, how often have you stopped yourself from doing something because you began thinking about what someone else might think about what you were doing? You stopped and you didn't move forward because you were so concerned with what other people were thinking about you. things that are not within your control. I want you to think of so many people who perform. Maybe they shoot to a certain, they shoot really good in practice, or they play a piece of music very well when they're on their own. They sing like you wouldn't believe when they got that karaoke mic. But as soon as they get in front of someone, they fall to pieces. Why? It has nothing to do with their actual ability. Their actual ability to play has been confirmed. They play beautifully when they're on their own. They sing beautifully when they're just in their living room, maybe with their mom around or their girlfriend, right? Or they shoot very well. They can just hit baskets all day, hitting at a really high percentage. The only thing that changes when they step in front of a crowd or in front of other people is their perception about things that they don't control. What are these people going to think? Am I going to be able to play it well so these people like it? Oh my God, people are watching. But if they were simply focused on what they can control, play the music the way they play the music, sing the way they sing, shoot the ball the way they know they have practiced to shoot the ball, their performance would enhance. Their satisfaction with their performance would be enhanced. They would have less anxiety as a general rule as they move through. Too many of us, and right now we have a lot of it being young men, are mad at the world. We have things to be disgusted by. Things should be better. These people are bullshit. These people are this way, and this society is this way, and the government sucks and everything else. But what about you? What about us? Have we taken control of our lives? Have we put the focus back where it needs to be, which is on who we are? Are we making ourselves the kind of person who it doesn't really matter what the circumstances are around us, we can be successful where we are? That we are robust enough to actually do what we're supposed to do, which is become the best version of ourselves and become the kind of person that other people can depend on, who could support and build not just a family, but also be a part of supporting and building a healthy community, society, or organization if we choose to be leaders. This is the first lesson and probably the most important because it is the base that all other lessons will be based around. We're going to be talking about how to become a good man. We're going to be talking about spiritual groundedness. We're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about people skills. We're going to be talking about how do you use these mind frames to do well in your career. And once again, remember, this channel is not about becoming rich. This channel is not about becoming famous or any of these things. If that happens for you, beautiful. But what we hope is that it happens for you on a base of strong character, virtue. We want it to happen to good people. We want you to be a good man. I'm going to keep trying. You keep doing your best. Y'all take care and be good.